Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to TokBox. So I'm Puneet, as Chris has already mentioned, and I work in the product team here. In the last 2 weeks, there has been some interesting announcements that Apple has made with regards to WebRTC, and we here at TokBox and the whole WebRTC ecosystem is extremely excited about that. To get to the essence of it, Apple has announced that they will be supporting WebRTC in the new version of Safari on macOS High Sierra and iOS 11 when it releases in September. But until then, we can actually try Safari 11 beta in the macOS High Sierra beta and also on the iOS 11 beta. There's also available is Safari Technology Preview until September. And we have created an environment for developers like yourself to actually go ahead and test the Safari, take it for a spin, and participate in the process of taking Safari to where it is now and to the finish line where it is works seamlessly with all the other browsers that support WebRTC. So, what's new? What does Safari Technology Preview? What is it bringing to us? And this is something that is changing every 2 weeks. So the information here might be outdated in 2 weeks, but I just wanted to challenge what Chris said earlier about those 3 APIs and how boring they are. I'm actually going to talk about those 3 APIs and try and make it a little interesting for you. Let's go to the next one. So essentially, as Chris mentioned, WebRTC is composed of these few basic APIs which let you build these really powerful real-time communication applications, one of them being the Get User Media. And Apple has made it very clear to the end user that their camera is actually being engaged, so you're not going to miss that. So once you're using a WebRTC application, it's going to be very clear to you that your camera is being engaged. As far as the permission UI is concerned, by default, you're always asked for permission, just like what happens on Firefox. And you could manually change that persistent permission. Only HTTPS is supported today, and iframes are not supported. So if you are trying to load it on CodePen or JS Fiddle on Safari, it's probably not going to work for you. As far as the video resolutions that are supported, they support a basic set of resolutions to start with. This is how Chrome started when they first released WebRTC, similarly with Firefox, and we expect this to expand as we move along. And they do support the standard set of resolutions, so most applications should work just fine. As far as screen share capability is concerned, it's not supported yet, but we expect that will change soon. And again, you can consume a screen share stream. You can consume it, but you cannot publish a screen share stream. Move on to the next one. Stream manipulation, media recorder, media to peer connection. These are second-order APIs which are not available yet. And again, most browsers, when they started with the WebRTC implementation, they did not have these in the preview. So this is not far away from what we had expected. As far as device selection is concerned, you have audio-video input enumeration available. But as far as the output enumeration for voice is concerned, it is not available today. RTC peer connection. So in the audio space, there's not anything surprising. They support all the audio codecs that is supported by Chrome, Opus, ISAC, G722, G711. Additionally, they also support ILBC. Apple has made an interesting decision when it comes to video codecs. So they support only H.264, no VP8 or VP9, at least in beta today. And that could lead to some interesting interoperability issues, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. As far as fingerprinting policy is concerned, this is a way for you to collect information about the end device so that you could recognize it even if some of the parameters change. So Apple is adopting a more protective, more not sharing a lot of the information from the end device, which end users like ourselves using WebRTC application will probably appreciate. As far as the connection establishment protocol is concerned, restarts are supported. Turn TCP is supported, but no support for Turn TLS yet. But most applications should work fine with Turn UDP and Turn TLS. RTC data channel, again, is supported, but it's closely tied to the Get User Media. So without Get User Media, the connection will fail to establish, and the RTC data channel will not work. Gets that some basic statistics are supported today, and we expect more to be added as we move along. And the last one, again, Apple has made an interesting choice there. So those of you who have actually built a multi-party application using WebRTC, Plan B and unified plans are two ways you can define an SDP scheme. And all you need to know is that Plan B is something which is old and deprecated, and unified plan is something which is currently what IETF specifies. Firefox support unified plan. Chrome is still on Plan B, and we expect them to move to unified plan at some point. Apple has chosen to go with the older scheme, which is an interesting choice, because if they were doing it, they probably should have chosen unified plan. But one of the reasons they might have chosen Plan B is because they want to make sure that they seamlessly operate with Chrome, which is probably the dominant browser today when it comes to WebRTC. So I have tried to make this APIs interesting for you, but these are all just factual details, right? But why is it important? Why are we all here talking about it? And I think this is the crux of it, right? Today, WebRTC is supported on all major web browsers, and this is a signal to developers and market that WebRTC is the de facto standard for real-time communication. It has the backing of some of the biggest technology players, you name it. Google, Apple, Microsoft have added support for Edge, Cisco. So all the major technology providers are backing WebRTC. So if you are building a real-time communication application, you do not have to think beyond WebRTC. This is how the ecosystem looked before the announcement. So as you see, there are these few gaps in the ecosystem where if you had a MacBook or you had an iOS device and you wanted to get onto a WebRTC call, you either needed to download a native application or you needed to switch your browser to one of the supported ones. But going forward, this has changed now. So either whether you have a MacBook or iOS, WebRTC will be supported on that. Yes, today there's still a gap that exists as far as support for Chrome and Firefox on iOS devices is concerned. But if you actually look at the browser share, iOS browser share, Safari blows away everybody else. So that's a moot point. And for all practical purposes, no matter which device you come on, which browser you use, WebRTC will work seamlessly. So the announcement that Apple has made is not just symbolic. It has actual implications for end users like ourselves who will be using these real-time communications more and more as video becomes more pervasive. So you think about it. You are on a I'm actually at this point of time buying a couch, right? And I go onto a website other than Amazon because I want to So I want to have some questions about the couch, and I want to get in touch with this video agent who's available to me. But if I'm required to actually download an application or a browser, the experience becomes the experience is not good, and you probably will not make the purchase. And that's not what a retail e-commerce company needs. Similar to customer service and collaboration as well. So all these spontaneous use cases where a customer does not have a prior relationship with these businesses, something so frictionless really has a significant impact. So you do not need to download an application, you do not need to have any kind of client installation, and that is extremely, extremely powerful, and that's why we at TokBox and everybody who is in the WebRTC ecosystem is excited about it. So what does it mean for WebRTC-based native applications? Does that mean that you do not need those native applications anymore? No, the answer is no, it's far from it. Well, we have had browser support, Chrome browser support for WebRTC on Android devices for forever now. And people still build those native applications because businesses have their workflows contained in these native applications. And if they do, and if they want to add video to that, they still need those native applications. It also gives you a way to have better control over the user experience. And also, native applications extract better performance from devices. So there are certain use cases, such as gaming, where you would still need to build native applications. Moving on. So we talked about some of these considerations earlier, and I want to dig deeper into particularly the codec one, because if you see, the codec world is actually diverging, if you think about it. So WebRTC, for the longest time, supported VP8 and was going down the route of VP9. They've recently added support for H.264, but Apple has chosen to add support for H.264 only and not support VP8 and VP9. This actually makes them non-compliant to the IETF standard. The reason why Apple has probably gone down this route is because it's not surprising, because Apple's ecosystem is H.264 dominant. H.264 also means that it has hardware acceleration support, which augurs very well for mobile devices because there's less CPU consumption, there is less battery consumption. So H.264 makes a lot of sense for those kind of devices, but it does come with a disadvantage that it's a licensed codec, whereas VP8 and VP9 are not, but they don't have hardware support. So there are pros and cons of using one over the other. And in an ideal world, we would expect that all browsers support all codecs. But if Apple continues with this decision of not supporting VP8, we will have gaps in this ecosystem. And what might happen is you have an Android device which does not support H.264 talking to a Safari endpoint, and that could lead to some kind of an issue where one person might have to go to audio only or some other kind of optimization. And these are the kind of problems that we as an RTC platform are thinking about. This is top of mind for us. And we are finding ways to pick the right codec for application developers given the use case and the endpoint, so that we abstract application developers like yourself from all the dynamics of WebRTC and and the codec interoperability issues that might come about. Again, I've been warned by my peers here that I should not make this a marketing pitch, so I will stay away from that. But I'm around, so please feel free to stop by and ask me questions about what we are doing to make it as easy as possible for you to build RTC application without having to worry about the nitty-gritties of WebRTC and the vagaries of the codec world that we just talked about. So beyond WebRTC and Safari, there were a bunch of very interesting announcements that happened at WWDC. Some of them around augmented reality, machine learning, increasing the footprint of Siri into more and more applications. And we believe that OpenTalk and TokBox needs to think very seriously about how we can help developers building applications using these new technologies. How do we help them incorporate real-time communication into these applications? And particularly interesting is the augmented reality piece, and me and everybody else at TokBox is looking forward to see what kind of applications people develop, because now Apple has made it possible to do augmented reality on a device like iPhone. So it's very reachable, very accessible, and we want to see how you build augmented reality into real-time communication and other way around as well, real-time communication into augmented reality. So with that piece, I'll let Dave take over and talk about the details of all the announcements that has happened in the last 2 weeks.